Welcome back to the Star Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
And my name is James, and we talk about all things Star Wars. Sorry if you saw us for like 2 seconds. We were like, what do we do? But before we get started, David, you have some people to thank, right?
Yes, we
There we
do.
go. Yeah.
As always, we always like to thank our top tier Patreon supporters: Darth Ace One, Lee McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard. Thank you so much for awesome love and support out there.
Yes.
We do
Yes.
appreciate it. We got some big conventions coming up. Speaking of conventions, we have
Ooh.
SpaceCon coming up, and a lot of us are going to be there in the flesh. Colin and Zach are driving down from Michigan. We're hoping to get James to fly out of Hollywood and
Yeah.
surprise us all. So if you're not familiar with SpaceCon, it's happening less than a month away. It's unbelievable that this thing's going to happen in my backyard in less than a month. If you're looking at us on video, there's a graphic. 13 Star Wars celebrities essentially are going to be there. Including Jar Jar Binks there and General Grievous.
Yeah, I
Which
was
is
gonna say General
incredible.
Grievous and Jar Jar will be there exactly like that, and it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, and incredibly, they made Funko Pop made a Jar Jar Grievous pop, like I don't know, I
Interesting.
don't know what they call them, but it's like a 2-pack with Jar Jar and
Oh,
Grievous. So Zach and I's plan is to get an autograph from Ahmed Best and get an autograph from Matt Wood, who are both going to be there,
oh,
and
that's
it'll be
awesome.
kind of a rare combo autograph pop thing situation. So we're each going to get one, and it should be pretty cool. I've seen Matt Wood several times at conventions. I
Hmm.
think I saw him in London, and I think I've seen him at previous celebrations, but was
He
never
he
able to
was
get his
in
autograph.
he was in Chicago for that episode one panel. I remember he
Ah,
came on
okay.
stage and he told the great story of how he got Bib Fortuna, the part of Bib Fortuna, which was he stood up in a room and somebody was like, "Hey, you're pretty tall," and then he was like, "Well, yeah." They're like, "They're looking for somebody to play Bib Fortuna for the when Jabba the Hutt's there at the pod racing. So go see if you could fit." And that is literally how he got that gig as Bib Fortuna, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's an awesome like synergy thing because they brought him back for that little like end credit at the end of I think it's Mando season 2,
Yes.
where they tell us about there's going to be a Boba Fett series and Bib's on the
Yes.
throne and you know what happens. But
It was
yeah, he
pretty cool.
reprised his role. Um, he basically took over for Ben Burt, the legendary Ben Burt, and he is a huge part of Star Wars. And hopefully, I can meet Ben Burt one of these days.
That'd
And
be pretty cool.
I don't know, get a picture with him or something. But yeah, SpaceCon is happening as you can see there. It's October 25th through the 27th at the Freeman Coliseum Expo Halls, right next to where the San Antonio Spurs play. Um, this is going to be the very first, the inaugural SpaceCon, and there should be more SpaceCons after this. But we're going to have a booth. We're going to be there, and we hope to see you there. Don't be afraid to talk to us. Come up to us. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Um, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but
Yeah, mostly
yeah,
don't.
there's going to be a whole lot of people there at SpaceCon. It should be interesting. It should be entertaining. Um, and yeah, Japan's after that essentially for the podcast, and that feels like that's right around the corner. So lots of stuff to look forward to con wise. But we definitely want to talk about all these rumors. And James has been going on Patreon and talking about some of these things. So he probably has a better understanding of what's going on than I do. But I definitely still want to address them. I haven't talked about them at all. So the first kind of like interesting thing that kind of popped up after the Daisy Ridley Ray stuff was the fact that the Mandalorian, after the Mandalorian Grogu film, is going to end the Mandalorian as a TV show and essentially as his like I guess they're trying to say his own like movie like franchise. I guess they're not going to do another one. Apparently,
Yeah.
the rumor out there is that he's going to like appear in other stuff, but he's not going to have like mainline stuff. Um,
Yeah, there's no season four. According to this rumor that's
right.
going around, there is no season four of Mandalorian. After Mandalorian and Grogu, that's it for the Mando storyline, if you may. Uh, so that's a rumor that just popped up this week. And again, it's just a rumor. And the other rumors, I know we're going to talk about the other ones. I was looking at my notes over here. There's other rumors, and there's the similarity with all of them. But anyways, yeah, keep going about.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of an article I do want to read here for the Mandalorian Grogu, and this comes from Cosmic Book News. It's the same one that everyone's running with. I don't think I really read much from these people, but um, the article states the Mandalorian Grogu to be last chapter, and of course this is in parentheses a rumor, so don't take this as gospel here. So a rumor offers the Mandalorian Grogu movie will wrap up Mando's arc in the Disney Star Wars universe. According to scooper Daniel RPK, the flick will be the last, with no additional movies or no seasons of The Mandalorian. Reportedly, The Mandalorian Season 4 has become the Mandalorian Grogu movie, so according to the rumor, the film will not lead into any new projects. However, it is said that there are still plans for the Mando to appear in the Star Wars universe, just not in his own movies or shows. What does the rumor say? According to scooper Daniel RPK via the Star Wars Holocron Fan X account, the Mandalorian Grogu will reportedly be the last chapter of the series/show with no future movies or seasons planned. Din Djarin is said to appear in Star Wars projects. It's just repeating itself here for whatever reason. So it kind of doesn't make sense to me because Disney's trying to make money, and Baby Yoda is essentially a money maker. You have essentially the infrastructure in place. You have Lateef Crowder, you have Brendan Wayne, you have even Barry Lowen, even though I think he's a newscaster in Florida now. But I mean, the benefit and the luxury that Disney has is that they don't need Pedro Pascal on set. They've already proven it with season 3. He really never took off his helmet, and you know how to do these things. I know people will kind of talk about season 3 and say it wasn't the best, and I guess living up to season 1 and season 2 is kind of living up to the original trilogy of Star Wars. It's kind of a hard thing to do. They really knocked that out of the park with those first 2 seasons. Season 3, I thought it was fine. It continued the lore. A lot of people argue that, okay, well, Din Djarin is really no longer the lead character. It's Bo-Katan now. I wouldn't have any problem with them kind of jumping off of Mando and doing something with Bo-Katan and all that lore, and bring back Casca, and bring back all the other Mandos that we saw. I would have no issue with that. Of course, you wouldn't have the Baby Yoda element, but it doesn't feel like this rumor is accurate, because that would almost be insane not to do more Baby Yoda stuff. I mean, that's... And it goes against like what they've done in the past with Disney Star Wars. You would figure that they would try and cash in on the Baby Yoda thing. So I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but there's a lot of smoke behind this one. And we had a viewer of the podcast last week kind of mentioned that. They talked about that there was that rumor going around, but from everyone that I follow, they haven't really brought that up as something that's legit. I know there's other news people, there's other scoopers. Daniel RPK, he's been out there, he's a name. He's been wrong sometimes. So, I mean, a lot of people talk, evidently. But it just doesn't... It feels like The Mandalorian is Star Wars right now. And it's like, why would you stop that? That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, what's going on? Unless there's going to be a huge shift and a huge change to something else they think is going to be like just totally successful. This feels weird to me. What do you think, James?
I agree. Grogu is money right now for Star Wars. Grogu is the hottest thing right now for Star Wars. I have a poster right now. It just says Star Wars and Grogu's in the middle in his pod. And it's like, I look at it and I'm like, that's amazing that we've come this far. And so in just a few years. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that Disney, like you said, Disney would be like, let's go somewhere else. We can leave Grogu and Mandalorian away and just, it's fine. We can just continue with another storyline and we'll use them periodically. No, you want Grogu and Mandalorian in not as many things as you want, but in more to come. You want this story of Mandalorian and Grogu to launch the next chapters for Star Wars, the next storylines that they can do for Star Wars. Canceling the story with after one movie doesn't make any sense to me at all. So yeah, and in case you're looking at these rumors, and I've talked to our patrons about this, all the rumors that you're seeing in all the different channels are just going to reference that one person, Daniel RPK. That's the only person who is saying all this right now. So Hollywood Reporter, Variety, all the other like mainstream uh, tabloids and publications, no one is saying anything about this story right now because it's just this one source. So yeah, it's a big rumor going around. Of course, like I said, we're gonna stay on this and see what happens. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to cancel after one movie. And plus, it's Star Wars. You tell one story and then you just start making way for the next story to come in. And there's so many storylines. There's so much potential they can do with Mandalorian and Grogu. And it's yeah, I really don't buy this rumor.
What happens if the Mandalorian Grogu makes $1.5 billion at the box office? What happens if it makes $2 billion at the box office? I mean, you can't honestly look us in the eyes and say, "Hey, look, we're not making a sequel." They're gonna make a sequel.
They're gonna
If
make
that thing, and then the merchandising, if that blows up, I mean, yeah,
yeah.
this seems ludicrous to me.
Yeah, no, this movie's gonna make a lot of money. The teaser poster alone is gonna have people wanting to see this movie because the teaser poster is just gonna probably have Grogu on it. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
Lucasfilm and Disney are gonna do everything they can to make sure Grogu is everywhere for those promotionals because they know that he is going to put people in seats. And yeah, so it's gonna make a lot of money. There's no way this movie will not make a lot of money.
right, right. So that kind of leads us to the other big rumor thing that's going around. The whole fact that there is something going around that I believe it's actually way more credible than the whole Mando rumor thing that we just talked about is the fact that Daisy Ridley's new Jedi Order film is either put on hold or just straight out canceled. Um, I really don't think that's accurate. I don't think that happened. I think there might be rumblings that maybe got misconstrued. I still think it's happening. I don't know. It's Have you heard anything that would tell you otherwise in the past few days, James?
Again, it's just this one person who said it. It's the same guy who said, Mandalorian and Grogu were going to be, that's the end of the storyline for them. He's also saying that the Rey film is delayed, that the scripts were turned in and the scripts were not good, and that Stephen Knight, the screenwriter, is going to go on to start doing the Peaky Blinders film, and that he's gone. He's going to be gone. He won't be able to do any rewrites for the movie. This seems a little crazy for me if this in fact is delayed or if it is canceled, because if you remember, Lucasfilm did put out an announcement when Benioff and Weiss were let go of the future Star Wars series they were going to do. They put out a statement when Colin Trevorrow was ultimately fired from episode 9. They will tell us that this is going to happen, I hope. But yeah, we haven't heard anything from Lucasfilm. We haven't heard anything from Disney. We haven't heard anything from any of the performers, as well as, like I said, the other big source, the other big news sites out there, the big ones. Nobody's saying anything about this story either. So I don't know what's really happening right now. I don't know why all these rumors are just starting or saying this is what's going on right now. This is the future of Star Wars. Yeah, I don't think this movie is delayed. I don't think it's delayed. And
So
if I'm wrong,
Stephen Knight is going to be the writer of this,
okay.
and it's like, well, even if he says I'm not working on this, I'm working on other projects. I put it on the shelf. I put it on hold. I mean, there's so many other writers out there.
Yeah,
I mean, why Stephen Knight? He's not. Has he ever done anything Star Wars related?
I don't think so. No.
I mean, he's a writer. I know they're paid well, but not $10 million like they gave Daisy Ridley. Um, so I mean, just get another writer
Yeah, I
if it's the
agree.
writer issue.
I mean, yeah, get the outline, have another writer come in and finish the story. But
Yeah,
again, that's according to this rumor that the scripts have not been approved yet.
Yeah.
He says Kathleen Kennedy isn't happy with the scripts that they're bringing her. Um, we don't know if any of this is valid. We don't know if any of this is true
Right.
or
Right.
not.
Right.
But you think it might be more of a possibility since we haven't heard anything at all from anything from this movie?
Well, I know Daisy Ridley did an interview recently, and she sounded like the movie was still on. Like there's no issues. Every movie I think has something going on with it. I mean, I think that's just really par for the course. But I think this is still happening. I mean, I don't see. I mean, they've gone down the road pretty far on this thing. Unless there's like going to be a huge shakeup at Lucasfilm, unless Kathleen Kennedy leaves in the near future. If someone comes in, takes her spot, and says no, we're not doing that. Um, that to me, it feels like that's the only way. Or
Mhm.
if they're like, we have to have Stephen Knight writing this for whatever reason, and don't just bring in a different writer. That to me is kind of weird. I mean, it's just like what? It's there's a lot of illogical things going on with these rumors.
Yeah,
Um,
rumors that they don't really make any sense. But it's fueling that group of YouTubers and podcasters who are very against Star Wars right now, who
yeah,
love to just stir up
yeah. I mean,
controversy.
yeah, it is
They're
definitely
loving all of
fodder.
this,
I mean,
all
yeah,
these
like
rumors right now.
yeah, they're like YouTubers are doing like 17 videos on this subject. It's like, man, you can talk for 17 videos on this.
Yeah, and they're like, "I knew it. You see, Kathleen Kennedy is ruining Star Wars right now. I told you, she's it's not pushing her agenda." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So yeah, they're loving these rumors right now because they have
Yeah,
content and they have people who are going to follow them and give them money. But yeah, we are just letting y'all know that these are just rumors right now, and that they actually financially do not make sense for Star Wars. Although financially, we found out. I know we didn't talk about this, but Acolyte cost a little extra more money than they thought it was going to cost to do, and they say that was one of the reasons why it was canceled. That was another factor of why it ended up canceling the second season, was because of how expensive season 1 was. You're getting to feature film uh budget with how much the Acolyte cost, and it's kind of insane. Forbes wrote an article about it, and they told how much it was, and it was like the budget ended up being $230 million for
wow.
the Acolyte, and that's a lot of money for a show,
Yeah,
first
I'd like to
season.
know where the money kind of
I want to
went
know where the money went as
exactly.
well, because there was a few things, a few effects shots in the movie in the show that I was like, oh wow, that could have looked a lot better, but okay, it's television, it's fine. And now that I hear how much it was, it's like, where was that? Was it the promotionals? Was it what? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, it was a big cast, but I mean, the cast was not like huge
Yeah.
names.
Did Carrie Ann Moss take 130 million? Like, I don't know. Like, no, she didn't. She didn't do that. But
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah.
that's a
So
little interesting there.
that's another thing that Disney might also be. I mean, that's one of the things that could have, like, the reason why they're considering canceling stuff is because of how much something was. But I don't think that's a factor for them, because they're gonna make money. They know they're gonna make money off of Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, there's no way that movie is not gonna make a lot of money. So,
Yeah, and I would figure they would put in like slots for sequels and stuff like
oh
that.
yeah,
And yeah, it's this is weird. So there is an article I will read with Daisy Ridley staring right at you if you watch it on video.
oh wow, I wasn't ready for that.
So on Screen Rant, there's an article that says, no, Rey's new Jedi Order movie hasn't been canceled or delayed. This was published 4 days ago.
Okay,
Rumors are flying that Rey's upcoming Star Wars movie, thought to be titled Star Wars New Jedi Order, is either delayed or canceled, but neither has been confirmed by Disney. New Jedi Order is one of several upcoming Star Wars movies, and it has been one of the most heavily marketed, perhaps second only to the upcoming The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. New Jedi Order is confirmed to be set 15 years after Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker in the Star Wars timeline, but little else is known about the story. In fact, in interviews, Rey Skywalker, actress Daisy Ridley, has indicated that even she has yet to see a script, as one has yet to be written. It is perhaps because there's currently no script and because details about New Jedi Order are sparse that this rumor has gained so much traction. However, for several reasons, rumors that New Jedi Order is delayed or canceled are currently baseless. Lucasfilm never officially confirmed when Rey's New Jedi Order movie would come out. Arguably, the most important point to dispel these rumors is that Lucasfilm never officially announced the release date for New Jedi Order. This inherently means that it cannot be delayed. Initially, many believed it would be the first new Star Wars movie coming out on May 22nd, 2026, but it's now been confirmed that will be The Mandalorian Grogu. Most then assumed New Jedi Order would come out on the next date. Lucasfilm had loosely booked December 18th, 2026. That is, however, an assumption, which I think we all kind of believe on the podcast. There's no way to know without an official announcement from Lucasfilm, has been stated by someone, not put in the article here. Perhaps because The Mandalorian Grogu and New Jedi Order have been the most openly marketed, many assumed it would make sense for New Jedi Order to be the next date in the lineup. However, without confirmation from Lucasfilm, that remains entirely speculative. It's possible that New Jedi Order was instead always slated for the December 17th, 2027 release date, or that Lucasfilm has yet to decide on a date for a movie. There's no way to know without an official announcement. So, yeah, I think it's still on. I think this is just kind of like
I think it's
the
clickbait.
big rumor that everyone latched onto.
Yeah, I think it's something everybody just wants to, because there's no news, so there's like, oh, it's canceled. It has to be canceled then. So they're just gonna put out that article and say, yeah, this is what's happening right now. And like we said, to get this guy Daniel on who's the insider, which I'm still trying to figure out how you get that title of insider. Maybe we can call ourselves that. But he has been right in the past about Marvel trailers dropping, when they're going to drop.
Right.
But then he's also gotten a lot of things wrong. A lot of rumors. He said, "Oh, this is I got from a good source that this is what's going to happen." It was not correct. They said, "Oh, he did say the new Spider-Man movie was called what was it called? The new one, uh,
No Way
Home,
Home?
No Way Home." They were like, "Yeah, he got the title right," but then somebody did more research and said actually someone else had already said that was the name of the movie, and he just took the credit for that, saying this is the name of the. So we don't know. Like I said, he has been right, but he's also been wrong. So these are just rumors.
Wow.
We'll
Wow.
see what happens, and I am hoping we still get these movies. I'm hoping we still get Mandalorian and Grogu post, you know, Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and I'm hoping we get this Daisy Ridley Star Wars movie because I want to see the next chapter, Episode 10. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm hoping that'd be awesome. That'd be a nice surprise. Just
That'd be
freak everyone
crazy.
out. Like episode 10, it's here. So speaking of the Ray movie, so we've heard that she would love to work with the people that she loved to work with previously on the sequel trilogy. And lo and behold, John Boyega is going to be attending a Comic Con for the first time in a long time.
That's
New
awesome.
York City Comic Con, along with Paul Bettany, Phil Lamar, Mads Mikkelsen, Cameron Monaghan, and Freddie Prinze Jr., who apparently has returned to acting. Um, John Boyega also on Instagram has released pictures of his workout routine, and John Boyega has gotten jacked. He's a big, muscular dude right now.
He was already pretty big, and he was already pretty fit, and then you see these pictures, and you're like, "Good God, man!" Like
No,
he's
he's like professional athlete fit
yeah.
right
Now
now
he's
because he showed some of the stuff he was doing, and it was like high intensive cardio with like huge muscles. Like I mean, he looked like an
jeez.
NFL linebacker. Um, so there's always been the speculation that he was gonna somehow maybe be involved with Marvel. He stated in the past that he didn't want to do Marvel stuff. He wanted to do more independent stuff. But we all know that John Boyega has stated all kinds of stuff in the past, even in reference to Star Wars, where he said the whole thing. He didn't want to be Disney Plus, which I don't think he really knew what Disney Plus was going to be. I mean, that's where all the big stars are now. I think maybe he's kind of maybe gone away from that statement. I don't know. He hasn't said anything specifically for that statement that he made. But I think there's better than 50-50 shot that he does show up in that Ray movie.
And that's so much money. Like that's money. You
Yeah,
know that
that's
you put a poster, you put a promotional picture of Ray and Finn standing next to each other, both wielding lightsabers. We are all going to go see this movie. That is something we all wanted to see. That is something we've all wanted to. We all, at the end of Rise of Skywalker, that was where it was kind of leading to, and it's a no brainer. Get him in there to be her apprentice, her first apprentice, and yeah, I really hope Disney doesn't waste this opportunity with him.
yeah. One of the details we know is 15 years later. So I mean, you can upscale their abilities big time.
Yes.
They could be running a Jedi Academy or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have
15
so
years
much
later, yeah, he
knowledge.
might already be a Jedi Knight. We skip all of his training,
Yeah,
go straight to him being a Jedi Knight, and then now you have all these books in between of what happened with Finn. How did Rey and Finn? What happened? And that's the story I also want to hear is what's going to happen right
yeah.
after Episode 9, and it's there. Disney, come on, do this, please. Let this plot happen because it seems like a no brainer. In the words of David, it's a slam dunk for Lucasfilm to have John Boyega back as Finn, as a Jedi.
It would
With
make too much sense to bring back John Boyega, and
would
even
wait too much. I like
yeah, it'd
that
make
a
too much
lot.
sense. I mean, because you'll have all the fans that are huge fans of the sequel trilogy. All the Daisy Ridley Ray fans, bring them all back. I mean, oh man, there's so much to do. There's so much they can do.
Yeah, it's insane if they don't do it. It's
Yeah,
honestly
yeah.
insane if they do not do it, and then we would have to go in and say, okay, Lucasfilm, we can take it from here. We know what we're doing. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I really hope he comes back, and I'm glad he's gonna start attending conventions again. Like that's really great. People get to see him now.
Yes, and there is an official article on popverse.com that I'm going to read here. Star Wars John Boyega is coming to New York City Comic Con 2024. Don't miss New York City Comic Con 2024 happening on October 17th through 20th. Popverse will be there all 4 days. John Boyega has been cast in this big next role. One of the stars of New York Comic Con. For some of you, he's Star Wars John Boyega. For others, he's Attack the Blocks John Boyega. In recent memory, he's also Pacific Rim Uprising John Boyega, Small Axes John Boyega, or They Clone Tyrone's John Boyega, which is a movie I haven't seen yet. It's on Netflix, I believe. The actor and producer will be in attendance at New York Comic Con 2024 on Saturday, October 19th, and Sunday, October 20th, to meet fans for autographs, photos, and for a bit of conversation. For Boyega, this will be the first full-scale comic convention appearance in 6 years. That's before his Star Wars finale in The Rise of Skywalker, and it's a rare opportunity to meet him as he begins writing the next chapter to his story. John Boyega is currently working with Birds of Prey's Kathy Yan on a movie called The Freshening, as well as a sequel to Attack the Block with creator Joe Cornish. As with all major New York City Comic Con 2024 guests, Pop versus New York City Comic Con superfans are getting first dibs on photo ops and autographs with the pre-sale underway now. So he's going to be there. He's going to be at a Comic Con. I hope this is a good sign. I hope he's kind of made up his mind already that yeah, he's coming back to Star Wars and he's just kind of
God,
playing
it'd be
that whole
so.
like hard to get thing. And
I mean, if Ewan McGregor can keep a secret for like 6 years, I think John Boyega can do the same. But man, and I like Finn. Finn's a great character. Finn's storyline was very good, and I've released my opinion about why I think people think he was done dirty in the sequel trilogy, and I'm not going to get into that again. But I really hope he comes back.
yeah, and I mean, SpaceCon is probably going to happen again next year. And
Oh,
if
that'd be
they make
great.
that announcement, they can add him to this list of people. And I don't think everyone on this list, if you're watching this on video, is going to make it next time around. So
Hmm.
maybe get her
Oh man, that would be great if they get
and
Daisy
these people.
Ridley. Yeah, get all of them. Get I mean, that would just be so great if they can get Daisy Ridley and man, Mark Hamill shows up. Like that would also be pretty great. Next year, Mark Hamill goes to Space Con. That would also be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he does so many just His appearances are so rare now.
Hmm.
I kind of regret not getting his autograph back in 2017 in Orlando. And I think it was way cheaper back then too. And that's the thing with getting autographs and photo ops. It's like it's hard to predict the future, but it feels like these bigger stars are just their prices are gonna like double and
Oh
triple.
yeah,
I mean, the longer the time passes. So I mean, you and I've heard a lot of people say it's expensive now, but what about later on? It's gonna even be more expensive. So
yeah.
it's like you need to jump on it if you really do want it. So I was able to go thanks to Countdown City Geeks and Ted to Fantastic Fest in Austin. It's a about a week and a day long festival that happens. It's a film festival. It's very usually genre specific. It's presented by Alamo Drafthouse, which is the theater chain that is quite beloved down here. I know
Hmm.
due to the pandemic they had to close a bunch of them. So there's only like two in San Antonio now. I think there's like 6 or 7 in Austin. But it was all primarily held at the Alamo Drafthouse off of Lamar. And I knew I was going to see some people walking around, and I I definitely did. Some people I was looking at their faces and I couldn't quite place them because they weren't in particular actors. They were like producers, directors of other projects. But I've seen interviews that they've done. But the one guy that I noticed right away, he was standing right next to me, unbelievably. I just turn around and look, and there he is. And it was none other than Elijah Wood.
Oh man.
And I already had known that he had. I don't think he lives in Austin anymore. I think he moved back to California, but he had been living in Austin for a while. I had known that he like DJ'd parties before and stuff.
Can you
Um,
imagine go to a party and you look up, and you're like, oh, is that Elijah Wood being the DJ right now? Anyways,
yeah, he is kind of like a semi-professional DJ. He does a lot
that's
of DJing.
amazing.
So I don't know how much he does now, but he did have a film at Fantastic Fest. I wasn't able to see it. It's called Bookworm, and he filmed it in none other than New Zealand. He went back there and
Nice.
did a new film. Um, but yeah, he was standing there. He was talking to a couple of people, producers, directors, someone in the industry. I didn't want to interrupt, um, but I was gonna try and make my way over there and like introduce myself and all that. So it did happen. I saw my window where they stopped talking. Another guy like entered and was like hugging those other guys, and I like swooped in, and I was like, "Hey, here's our card. Would you be interested to come on the podcast with us?" And he said, "Yes, sure. Contact this person." And the person's name, he said, "I know them." So I'm like, okay, so hopefully we have him on the podcast. And I know you're asking yourself, what does Elijah Wood have to do with Star Wars? Maybe, but he was actually a character on the Resistance animated show,
Oh yeah,
so he
that's right.
counts.
He does count. And plus, he is a Star Wars fan. He famously put out a tweet around the rise of Skywalker, which
Yeah,
was really funny because somebody said, "Did you know that the operators of the Star Destroyers on Exegol were these people and these people?" And he responded with, "No, how could we possibly know that?" And it was really funny that he called out
yeah,
whoever
I
which was very
remember that.
true because again us we're like, yeah, how would we, and yeah, he was like, no, how would we know that, like you didn't
Yeah,
tell us anything anyways. But yeah, that's so cool, man. And you sent us a picture. I don't know if you gotta show it on here, but you sent us a picture, and he doesn't look like he's aged at all. He looks the same as he did. I mean, a
yeah.
little bit, but he looks
I mean, when I
pretty
was
young still.
talking to him, he was like staring like right at me, and like he didn't blink, and I was
That's
like talking to
wild.
Elijah Wood, but we all know if you've been listening to the podcast that I'm a huge Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings fan.
Me
So
too.
if we do get him on the podcast, it's probably going to, I want to say, evolve into a Lord of the Rings podcast.
It probably will
I mean,
because
if you go on YouTube, he's doing a lot of conventions where he's doing panels where he's saying the same things over and over and over again, along with Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan and Sean Astin, and sometimes, um, man, the name's escaping me right now. John Rhys Davies.
oh yeah.
They're constant. I mean, there's so many videos of Elijah Wood talking about the Lord of the Rings with fans. Um,
You know, you just made me think of something.
yeah,
They they have these panels. You know, Sean Astin and the Hobbits, the four Hobbits have these panels, and they go
Yeah.
around and they do these things. And it's like, how come Star Wars actors don't do these type of panels? Because it feels like every time I go on TikTok, I see them at a different place, different city, all four together talking about Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, why won't Star Wars actors do the same? Like, why can't they do that? And it makes me a little upset that we don't get to see just we can't just go to a convention like New York and then see John Boyega, you know, Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac just on stage talking about Star Wars. Like that would, I wish they would do that. And it makes me sad, but glad, you know, because one day I could possibly see all the four hobbits, you know, talking at a convention. But yeah, I just wish they would do that. Star Wars would do that.
I think a part of that is because the actors, like which actors are you talking about?
What do you mean?
The actors you wish that would do the same thing for Star Wars.
Oh, like, you know, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Kelly
Okay,
Marie
so for
Tran.
them, I think it's a little tricky because there's still like an ongoing like talks and negotiations for different
Yeah.
things. And then like Daisy Ridley, she knows the story of the new Jedi Order film and she loves it, but she can't talk about it. So
All right,
that's the
sense.
thing. I think these people don't, and I think Lucasfilm maybe says we don't want you to talk about that stuff, and which it's a great thing that Ewan and Hayden are going to be in San Antonio. They're going to do a panel. I know at least Hayden is, and it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, Ted from Countdown City will be the host of the panel and talk to him and Rosario about things. But I mean, it's incredibly nerve wracking too, I would think, on their part because they want future work in Star Wars and they don't want to drop things that they can't, that they
They don't
shouldn't
want to
drop.
say.
And then once they say it, it's gonna be everywhere. It's gonna break the internet. If let's say Hayden Christensen is up there and Ted asks them, so in the next Vader thing you do, have you shot anything? Or he slips in something that's Vader centric, and he lets go that yes, something Vader is happening. I mean, if I was running Lucasfilm, I wouldn't be upset with that because everyone's going to talk about Star Wars again. You know, there's going to be the
Yeah.
hype start. I mean, I don't see how that is an issue unless they're looking like at the legality of it all, and somehow there's something that we don't know and we don't. I mean, we're not in the industry at that level, so it's like, what does that really affect? But I don't know. I mean, I would love Star Wars hype, like actual stuff said by Hayden Christensen from his mouth, and we see it, and it's not like AI or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
And him say, I mean, that would like be so great, you know? I mean, that would like say, okay, well, I think it's obvious that we're getting more Vader stuff. It's just a matter of time. But to hear him talk about it, it'd be fantastic. But like I said, Japan's right around the corner. They might be saving it for that because, of course, Lucasfilm wants people to attend that. Even though passes are virtually sold out, I believe, for Japan. I think there's like Sunday available, and that's it.
Yeah, Friday and Sunday are available.
Okay, Friday and
For
Sunday.
Japan.
So,
But anyway, sorry, back to Fantastic Fest. I didn't mean.
yeah, Fantastic Fest. So I took the picture with him. I said, hey, I don't think I called him Mr. Wood. I don't even think I said his name at all. He just turned around and looked at me, and we just started talking. But yeah, I took a picture with him. I posted it on Instagram, and yeah, here it is. So,
Oh my gosh.
so yeah, I was just like totally like, and I knew going into this that I knew he was a really cool guy, and he was approachable, and like I said, I'm a huge fan of the trilogy he did for Peter Jackson there. And yeah, hopefully we can get him on the podcast and just kind of hang out, really. I mean, no pressure on anything. I don't think he's involved in anything, any future Star Wars projects. That'd be cool if he was, but we all know there's another movie that's coming out for The Lord of the Rings and The Hunt for Gollum. I guess that's either the main title or working title. He might appear in that. So there's a possibility that we see him again as Frodo.
I have a feeling they would figure out a way to get him in there, you know, like,
yeah.
because Andy Serkis is directing,
Right.
And you've already got Viggo Mortensen coming back. You got Ian McKellen saying he would or he is coming back. And then Orlando Bloom also saying he is coming back for that. And it's like, come on, just put Elijah Wood back in there. I know we kind of detoured to a Lord of the Rings podcast, but I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings is a fantastic trilogy. It's a fantastic feat. And, the more time that passes, the more people look at the Lord of the Rings trilogy as this crazy monumental achievement that I don't think we will ever see again for a very long time. And it's so great that, we're past 20 years from those three movies. And we look back in that span and we're like, man, no one has done or even attempted to do that again, what Lord of the Rings did. So,
Yeah, I think the current Hollywood system won't allow anyone to do
yeah.
anything like that because it was such a gamble, and it was one of the maybe the greatest gamble aside from Star Wars, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't think 20th Century Fox put down as much money as Miramax did. 20th Century Fox didn't greenlight 3 films.
But you know what? We still have James Cameron's Avatar movies coming out. And James Cameron even said he wanted to make a Lord of the Rings, he wanted to make a Star Wars with his new Avatar movies. So we'll see how these next 3 movies do. Could be.
Yeah,
Anyways.
and sometimes I know this might be sacrilegious to say, but sometimes I think Peter Jackson's trilogy is better than the original trilogy of Star Wars.
No, I will have to I don't know. I don't know. They're two completely different trilogies, 3 completely different movies, and the journeys are different, and I don't know. I don't want to compare the 2 trilogies to each other. I'll just say this is Lord of the Rings, this is Star Wars. I'm not going to say which one's better, which one's worse. Uh-oh. David has that look on his face. Anyways, let's not make our one fan
Let's not
mad
make
right now.
our one fan that's watching.
Who's watching. Thank you for watching. But
Yeah, man. I mean, I love those movies like they're people,
mhm.
and
But I will say this though about the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy is if ever I have kids, we will watch the Hobbit trilogy first. And then I will show them Lord of the Rings. Not like Star Wars, where I would show 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. With
right,
the
right.
Hobbit, I would literally show them the Hobbit, end it, and then say, okay, now this is the real story. Like the real meat of the story is this, and then show them the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But with Star Wars, you can't do that. With Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, I think you can do that.
Yeah, hopefully when Elijah does come on the podcast, we can talk about some things in
That'd be
regards to
crazy.
his experience. Yeah, that'd be wild. I think he's my age. I think he's 43
Yeah.
or around there. So he wasn't the only Star Wars actor that I ran into. I also ran into a future Skeleton Crew cast member that we will see. Um, this is the image from Rebel Scum Con. He was there along with me. Dane. How do you say the last name, James?
Why are you asking me? The Ligro?
Yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think he might be Italian.
I think that sounds very Italian.
Well, from Italy, like
Yeah.
not from the States. I
Oh, I see
haven't
what you're
really heard
saying.
him speak much. But yeah, he was the Predator in the last Predator film entitled Prey. But
Great.
yeah, he was walking around the hallways there, and I said, "Hey, what's up? Can I get a picture?" And he's about 7 foot tall, and he bent over and took this picture with me.
Jeez.
So I'm
And
about 6 foot
yeah, for
with
reference,
shoes
David
on.
is not short. David is pretty tall himself. So, yeah, man.
And he's
He's
wearing a
wearing a
hook
hook. Yeah,
cap.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing a hook hat. Good. He's a big fan and of Hook, Steven Spielberg's Hook. But
Which is very prescient there because Dame Maggie Smith
yeah,
just passed away.
the legend Dame Maggie Smith is no
Yeah.
longer with us. But that's cool that you got to meet, a predator, which sounds horrible to say, but you got to meet from the Predator franchise. You get to meet a performer in the Predator suit, and that's so cool. So who is he playing in Skeleton Crew?
I'm not quite sure. I
Oh
don't think
wait,
he's allowed to say yet.
yeah, I was gonna say I think and if you go on IMDb, it just says his name. It doesn't say who he's portraying in the
Right.
show. So
Right.
and he's tall. And as we see in Hollywood, if you're tall and if you don't complain about being in a suit, you're gonna keep getting put in suits. So there's a chance he's probably gonna be having some heavy makeup on. Which fun fact, that's how Doug Jones, from Hellboy and Shape of Water, he
Hmm.
had a gig in Hollywood as the after midnight McDonald's mascot. And he said, rumor got around that I don't complain and then the suit. So then I had more calls and like, hey, can you put this suit on? Can you put this suit? He goes, so then I just became the creature actor.
He was
And
the Mac Tonight guy.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that was like his first gig when he got to Hollywood was that. And
Oh wow.
so ever since I heard that, and you look at some of these actors who are amazing actors, who are amazing performers, and I think that's what it is the casting directors will go, okay, who is really cool and will not mind being put this whole thing on them and become a character. And it
Yeah.
looks like this, he played, of course, the Predator in Prey, which was one of the, I think, second best of the Predator franchise movies
Hmm.
behind the first movie. Um, and there's behind the scenes of him working, there's behind the scenes of him moving, and it's like he looked pretty good, he looked pretty scary. So that's exciting, and that's cool that you got to meet him before
Yeah. Very,
he
like he
might
was on his way
explode.
to a screening. So at
Yeah,
Fantastic Fest, there's like screenings round the clock of different genre films, and I got to see a few films that were just terrific.
that's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, hopefully he comes on the podcast
That'd be
and
cool.
we talk about some Skeleton Crew stuff after that all airs. Um, so yeah, I was at Fantastic Fest. I got to experience all that through Countdown City Geeks. Check them out for sure. CountdownCityGeeks.com. Right before the podcast started, Ted sent me a message saying that my review for Saturday night was put on the Fantastic Fest
Nice.
Facebook page. So yeah, that's why it like right as we were about to record, he sent me that, and I was like, oh, I gotta check that out. But we're podcasting, so
you know there's one thing I want to say about Fantastic Fest. So about 12 years ago, Fantastic Fest was in tech. Of course, it's always in Austin, and I was living in Austin, and that's when Looper was coming out, and that's what it was. It was Fantastic Fest, and the girl I was dating at the time really wanted to go to the Alamo Draft House in South Lamar because rumor had it Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to be there, and so she really wanted to go see Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I thought that'd be pretty cool. I get there, and there's a few people. There's a crowd, but not a big crowd. It's just a couple of people, I'd say. And I looked, and in the middle was Ryan Johnson, and I knew him from a movie he had done called Brothers Bloom, which I loved. And then I knew he directed Looper, and so he took a few pictures with people, and I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, can I get a picture?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." And he put his arm around me. And I got a picture with Ryan Johnson, and that was like, holy crap, that is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, Fantastic Fest is fantastic. It's great. You can meet people, and it's a very Texas thing, and it's a big deal. I mean, you just saw there's so many people are there. It's a big event, and yeah, I'm so glad you got to go and experience
so
that and see that.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of industry people there. Perry Nemiroff was there. I saw her a couple times.
Mm.
Um, I know this is kind of off topic of Star Wars, but the first day Halle Berry was there, I
Oh
sat in
my
the front
gosh.
row. She entered, and she did a Q. She did kind of a Q and A. Yeah, it was a little bit of a Q and A. I think they only took like two questions or whatever. But she spoke about the process of the film, why she took the film, and
Mhm.
explained to her thoughts and feelings about the film. And she was like really good, very articulate. She really expressed everything I think she could possibly express about the film. And there was a point where she was talking about because her film deals with I believe the title of the film is Never Let Go, and there's these two young child actors that were like very impressive. Their acting was terrific, and she even explained that, hey, we casted two other kids, and she said the chemistry wasn't there. She didn't feel like the film was working, so they cast the two kids you see in the movie, and she was like, they're perfect.
Wow.
And I think they were. I mean, she helped. She produced it as well, I believe. Um,
Good for her.
and she really talked to us about this film, and She's a great speaker. Still looks the same from the 90s. And Halle Berry in the 90s. I want to say that she was probably the most beautiful woman in the world in the 90s.
First
Like,
time I saw Halle
no
Berry
argument.
was in the Flintstones movie with
Oh my
John Goodman
gosh,
and
dude.
yeah, and,
Even
she
back,
was
dude, we were like little like babies back then, bro.
yeah.
So I'll tell you a little story about that movie.
Oh boy, here we
So
go.
I was in summer camp, and my summer camp consisted of going to the park with like a big like range of age kids, and they had like activities for us to do, and we would pack our lunch, and we'd play basketball, volleyball, go to the playground, and we have a wave pool in my town, so we would end the day walking through the heat, getting to that wave pool. It was like across like it was going under the underpass and making our way there. But anyways, um, I'm mixing up all my summer camps that I had together. I think the particular summer camp I had was at an elementary school, so it was indoors. We didn't have to sweat it out for this particular one, and we took a bus trip to. It was either from the park or from the school. But anyways, the bus driver. It's all about the bus driver.
Oh, okay.
So the bus driver, he got to watch the Flintstones with us. That was the movie they selected. And I think I had already seen it. It was almost like an advanced screening type of situation. But we saw it as a group, and the bus driver saw it with us, I remember. And when we were getting back on the bus, one of the kids asked him, "So what'd you think about the Flintstones?"
Oh no, what did he say?
And he basically said, "Oh, I don't care about the Flintstones, but man, Halle Berry."
And y'all are all like
And I was
9
just
years
like,
old or 10 years old.
Bro, we were like 9, 10 years old, but I still got what he was trying to say. And I was like, yeah, dude. I mean, she made it all. I mean, she's ridiculously beautiful. I think her, Ming Na Wen, and I can't think right now, but I think those two were the most beautiful women in the 90s, like bar none.
There is a connection though. Kathleen Kennedy was an executive producer on the Flintstones movie. Just letting everybody know. Her, Frank Marshall, and Steven Spielberg were executive producers on the Flintstones movie. So that's wild.
Yeah. And yeah, so Halle Berry was standing right there talking about the film, and she started talking about the kids and parenting, and she looked directly at me, like stared into my soul. Kind of like this picture with Daisy Ridley, how she's like staring like right at you. She was doing that to me for like a minute, talking about raising children, and I'm thinking to myself, I've raised my children. My children are
Why
doing
are you
great.
talking like this? It's like that moment from the Batman Lego movie. I'll be dying in your arms tonight, and you're just like, oh.
Well, I mean, she was clearly talking about it because there's children involved in the movie and,
Yeah,
and that whole thing, and there's
But just looking at you, I mean,
that.
is like,
But
you're
yeah, I
reacting.
mean, like the whole time. I mean, it's that. So it's
whole
that weird
time?
thing. So it's that. The whole time.
The whole time.
Mrs. Doubtfire reference there.
Reference, yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, it's that thing of like you don't want to stare at a person, you know,
Mhm.
and I don't want to be staring at her the whole time. So I think there was a moment where our eyes did lock, and then I was like, I'm staring at Halle Berry, and then I was like, I can't be staring at Halle Berry.
God, so
And I'm trying to be professional too. So,
that's
but
funny.
yeah, Halle Berry was there. Will Ferrell ended up going there for his documentary on Netflix,
Mhm.
and I was in like the press room, and he hung out kind of next to me, and he was talking to other people, and he acted exactly the way you would expect. He started cracking jokes. He started like controlling the media people, telling them to put the camera down low, put it up high, and it was just ridiculous stuff, you know. And everyone's just like laughing, and some people were a little over excited and over laughing to his stuff.
I don't like
And
that.
I'm like, ugh.
That's gross.
But yeah, and then Brandon Routh walked in, and
Oh my
Brandon Routh.
gosh.
I mean, there's few people on the planet to where they have a certain just kind of aura and presence to them. And dude, Brandon Routh radiates Superman.
Yes.
it feels like he is Superman.
It's so he got done dirty with that Superman Returns backlash. I thought he was fantastic as a Christopher Reeve because that's who
Yeah.
he was supposed to be playing was Christopher Reeve,
But no,
and he
the
was
guy
amazing.
has like this energy
Yeah.
that hits you. And
Wow.
it's like it is Superman, bro. It is a Superman. We all know that there's other Supermen out there, Henry
Yeah.
Cavill and
Taylor.
yeah, I think
What?
it's Tyler Hoechlin.
Oh, Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I just started that
I
show
was able to
yesterday.
like shake
Which
his
is
hand
funny.
at Comic Con, and he
Really?
kind of radiates like other worldly, like non-human presence.
I know I got old. I know because I saw him in Road to Perdition and he played Tom Hanks' son. And then now,
Whoa.
yeah, and now he's Superman and Superman and Lois, and he's a father with two kids in the movie. And I was like, I think I'm like a little bit like a year older than him, and I'm like, oh man, what happened? I was like, where did that time go? But anyways, yeah, you saw Brandon Routh, and
Yeah,
he's awesome.
that feels like Superman in disguise. Like
Oh
seriously, I
man,
don't know what it is, man. I mean, some people just have that about them.
it's just I think he just has that look. He just has that, and plus he's tall, he's big. He just has a very comforting face. I know that sounds weird to say, and because
Well,
I
he
think
looks a lot like Christopher Reeve.
Ted took a picture with him,
Yeah.
and you can tell he's getting older, but he still looks just fantastic. And I was like, man, that's so cool. That's so great.
Yeah, yeah. Ted has actually done a lot of stuff with Brandon Ralph.
Oh wow, that's
Um,
so cool. That's why
I
he was
think at
able to
the
get the
last
picture.
superhero, I think he had lunch with him,
Oh my gosh, that's so
and
great.
I think he's like done like dinners and stuff where he's been there, and he knows Ted. He
Oh,
recognized him at Fantastic Fest.
he looks
So
like I know it's weird. I know we're a Star Wars podcast, but he looks like a Jedi master. Like it looks like he could put on a robe and
uh,
be a Jedi master, and it would work, and it would be really cool to see. Or even a villain. I don't know. He just looks like a character that should be in Star Wars. And yeah, I remember when he wasn't in Superman anymore, I was thinking, man, he needs to jump on another franchise. And I was like, why not Star Wars? That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, I definitely think that'd be cool. So other stuff at Fantastic Fest that's related to Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah.
So there were a couple of podcasts that happened there, and I got to attend them live. And of course, we all kind of know all the old Star Wars heads that have been following Star Wars news since the 90s,
Mhm.
since kind of like the inception. Know about Ain't It Cool News. So, Ain't It Cool News had like a slew of guys writing for their website. And one of the guys, I don't think he was there in the beginning, but he was there later on. I knew the name. I was familiar with the name because they always put the names at the top of the articles real big, and I just knew the people that were writing. And some of them went by like code names or whatever. But there's this one guy, his name, and he's been to a lot of different things, which is an incredible achievement. Like he went to the filming of the Lord of the Rings. Speaking of that, and
Wow.
he's kind of close to Peter Jackson too. Peter Jackson has actually been to Austin to like I think he showed off the Hobbit. I think they did like a something that's called like a button-umathon in the Alamo Draft House where you see like movies for like 24 hours or whatever.
That's wild.
Um, and Peter Jackson brought The Hobbit, I think, to a screening at Alamo Draft House. But anyways, Eric Vespi is his name. He has a podcast called All the Spiel, which is a Steven Spielberg podcast,
Hmm.
and they brought up a director as a guest for the podcast that was live happening in front of me. Nacho Vigilante, I believe his name is. He directed one of the films was Colossal with Anne Hathaway, I believe.
Hmm.
But he's done a lot of films like that. He's from Spain. English isn't his first language, but he was super articulate in English, and all the ideas he was like trying to get across, I understood. I understood what he was saying. Um, but yeah, his English was excellent. I had no issues with it. But at the very end, they brought up a Star Wars connection, and they brought up the fact that and it was Eric Vespi, the host of All the Spiel. He said that Steven Spielberg actually owns 5% of Star Wars. Do you know the story?
I think Is this the deal they
It was the
made?
bet.
It
Yeah.
was the bet, yeah.
Yeah. Spielberg said, I bet you anything Star Wars is going to outgross Close Encounters.
And
And
George
then
Lucas said,
Lucas was like, no, Close Encounters is excellent. And that's going to outgross my
well,
future flop, which is
well,
called
yeah,
Star
because
Wars.
Lucas went to the hangar set there at the finale of Close Encounters and was like, "This is massive." He goes, "Your movie's gonna make way more money," but I didn't know he owned 5%. I knew he got a portion of the royalties. I didn't know it was 5% of Star
I
Wars.
think that's what Eric said. So
Wow.
after the podcast was over, I introduced myself, and he did say something kind of interesting, because he basically alluded to the fact that he does listen, and
No
he goes
way.
out on YouTube and looks up Star Wars stuff. Not our particular podcast, but he was like, what kind of Star Wars podcast are you guys? And I told him what we
Oh,
were, and he was like, oh, okay, I like those podcasts.
oh yeah, good. I like this guy. Yeah, yeah. Heck
But
yeah.
yeah, it was a fun podcast. I got to meet him. I got a picture right here. I have my arm around him.
Nice.
And the director is on the right hand side there. So, and you can see the logo, the Spiel, all Spielberg all the time. So yeah, look that up, check that out if you want to know more about Steven Spielberg, and all the little integral details about his all time great career.
Hmm.
I'm hoping we get a Spielberg Star Wars film.
Yeah,
What
he's
what's in the
already.
way of it now?
I think it's his age. He's already.
But he's still doing films.
Yeah, but he's only doing like a movie. Like he didn't do a movie last year. You know, he did The Fablemans, which I think was one of his best movies he's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing another one with David Kep as screenwriter, and I think Emily Blunt and the actor from and I can see his face. I don't know. He's a British actor. Are the leads in an alien action drama that's
Yeah.
coming out next year. Um, but yeah, I don't know what else is he's producing a lot of things. I think it's just that he's already almost 80 years old, man. It's I would love for Spielberg to do a Star Wars movie, and he almost did do Return of the Jedi, and so it could happen. It's just I don't know.
Is the
It
whole like
would
guild thing still an issue?
no, not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Yeah, because Hollywood's cool with not having the credits in the front anymore.
And then, of course, we all know that Spielberg was the director of what was it called? Animatic, not the pre-visualization for Revenge of the Sith. That final fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, Spielberg was putting the camera and showing this is how it's going to play out. And it's really because if you watch that documentary within a minute on Revenge of the Sith, George Lucas is like, okay, Spielberg had an idea. He says Steven had an idea to have lava come up, land on the arm, and it melts the arm off. And then now we're in the river, flowing down the river. And I'm like, that was Spielberg's idea. And then Spielberg also drew up animations for the Yoda and Palpatine fight of Palpatine and Yoda in the Senate, but those cameras are going around them, circling them, and then people in Coruscant are watching the fight happen, and they're like skewing the narrative that Jedi are attacking the Emperor and everything like that, and like yeah, Spielberg is very connected with Star Wars, and if you watch the documentary or that segment on the making of the Rise of Skywalker when it talks about the scoring of the final Star Wars Skywalker saga, Abrams and Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy are there, not Abrams, Lucas, and Kathleen Kennedy. Spielberg is there, and he's saying this is such a great moment and everything. So yeah, I would love to see a Spielberg Star Wars movie, but I just don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would love to hang out with Steven Spielberg and
Me
see
too.
like who he really is, because I've heard so many like different stories, and you see his online and his TV camera
Hmm.
personality, but then you hear things like, "Oh, he's a really big PC gamer," and Shia LaBeouf had this weird story of like they were trying to like figure out stuff for Transformers, and he was like, "Wait, wait, wait, I'm almost done." And we're like, "We're almost done with what?" "I'm almost done with playing BioShock on the PC." And he's like, "Yeah, check out this game. It's really great." And BioShock is one of the
Yeah.
greatest video games of all time. Um, and yeah, he's a big PC gamer. I think one of his kids actually just did a podcast
Hmm.
talking about. They're like, yeah, my dad's like really big into PC games, and yeah, it's Steven Spielberg.
Who? Yeah, imagine you're playing online. You're like, Who's this guy you're playing with?" And it's Steven Spielberg. But
But see,
what's
I want to
so
know how he really is. You know,
yeah,
like when you get the camera and the recording equipment away. I mean, like who is this guy? You
yeah.
know,
What is he really
he's
like?
he's a, probably he's probably the greatest director of all time. But like, how is he? Like, could we be friends?
I like what he said though, and it's really when you watch the movie The Fablemans, it's very obvious because he has said, "I don't know what else I would be doing with my life because I'm not good at anything but movies." He goes, "I that's the only thing I know how to do is make film. He goes, I don't know how to do anything else," and that's wild that he doesn't have another like. There wasn't another ambition for him. It was I want
Yeah,
to tell stories,
movies or
I want to make
bust.
movies, and he did it. And it's so great, and I love the fact. And according to legend, Verna Fields is the one who said, "Hey, this is Steven Spielberg's. This is George Lucas," and then Verna Fields is the one who introduced the two of them. That's a legend. I don't know if it's true or not, because Verna Fields cut American Graffiti for George Lucas. Her and Marsha Lucas cut American Graffiti, and then Verna Fields cut Jaws for
Yeah,
Spielberg, which she won the Oscar for because that movie's like one of the greatest edited movies ever. But yeah, and I like the story that Lucas did not like Spielberg at first. Coppola did not like Spielberg at first because they were like, "Oh, he's in the system. He's a studio
yeah.
boy. We don't want to
He's the
talk to him."
man.
Yeah, and the stories go that Lucas would like Spielberg would go to these things, these like these film festivals, and would watch these movies and was like, "Oh my god, that was so great!" And they'd be like, "We don't want to talk to you, man. You're over here making TV shows already. We're not a part of that." But somewhere
Right.
along the lines, Lucas and Spielberg were like, or Lucas looked at Spielberg one day and was like, "All right, this guy's pretty cool," and then they became friends.
One of my favorite moments that lives rent free in my head is at the episode 7 premiere.
Hmm.
And they did the big ovation where George Lucas stands up, everyone stands up and is clapping, and George Lucas is doing his wave, and Steven Spielberg is right next to him, and George Lucas just like kind of like stares at him a little bit, and Steven Spielberg is like clapping, and he goes, like, "This is all for you, buddy.
This is
This
you,
is it."
yeah.
And then Lucas looks around and he just like puts his arms up to hug him. And Steven Spielberg's like, okay. And they hug. And
That's
it's like,
so great.
man, that's such a moment, man. That's
And the fact that they created one of the greatest, cinematic
eras.
characters, no, eras and
I mean,
characters of
yeah,
Indiana
everything.
Jones. I mean,
Like our childhood, you know?
yeah,
And
I
adulthood.
I still remember I dated this girl in high school, and I was like obsessed with Spielberg and George Lucas, and she was like, they just make boring movies. And then we're watching Land Before Time, and at the beginning of the movie it says George Lucas and Steven Spielberg present, and she was like, "Get the hell out of here." I was like, our whole childhood has been George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, and my
Yeah.
goal, and I'm here in this town, and my goal is to meet Steven Spielberg because I would just that's the ultimate for me. Star Wars and meeting Steven Spielberg are just the ultimate because Spielberg is
Yeah.
the whole reason I'm here. Like I'm doing all this weird stuff because I saw Jaws at 12 and said, "Yep, that's what I want to do." So,
Mm.
anyways, that was a good Spielberg topic, but just joking.
Yeah, to bring it full circle here, I did go see Adam Driver's new movie,
Oh,
Megalopolis, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. I thought it was good. I had such low, like, bottom
expectations.
basement dwelling expectations for it because people said this was like a
Yeah,
horrible,
I've seen some horrible
unwatchable.
reviews. Yeah.
No, I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, it's not a traditional Hollywood film, but I mean, he gets the point across of what he's trying to communicate. And the Q&A helped before the
Hmm.
film with De Niro and Spike Lee, but I mean, I liked it, man. I mean, it's rated R film, of course, but it made sense to me. Um, when I was watching it, I was like, I'll probably never see this again. But when I saw the whole thing, I was like, I'll probably see this again. You
Wow.
know, there's a lot of stars in it. Adam Driver, I think, is the only Star Wars related person in it, and
I think so.
he's the main actor. He's the star. He Shoot,
He
I was about to say
drives
he
the
drives the film.
movie. There you go.
Oh gosh.
But
It's
yeah,
getting late.
good old Coppola, man. Him and Lucas and a few others started American Zoetrope. They left Hollywood because they said screw this, and then
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola invested a lot of his money into THX 1138, and that almost killed American Zoetrope.
And you can definitely see why Francis and George Lucas are so super close because all they talk about is like it's all about the humanities. It's
Mm-hmm.
about humans and human action and choices and history. Um, yeah, I mean, you could definitely see it on screen and just I mean just the way they talk and the concentration and they talk the way they talk about like current politics and past
Mm-hmm.
politics and I mean they don't shove it in your face but it is there, you know, and that's a brilliant way to get your point across and you have to look a little deeper than just taking whatever's said on the surface level and running with it. So it's very interesting. And hopefully everyone can watch that Q&A because that was really good that they did back, I think, in New York and they streamed it to us. But yeah. Anyways, I like the film. You might see reviewers like pan it, but I like the message. I like the performances. Some of the performances were over the top and some of them like really good. But it is what it is. And just remember art is subjective, guys. You might really love something that I really don't like. So, and vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
So, yeah, I think with that, that is a podcast for this Saturday. And you can find us at different places online, of course. We're actually live on Instagram right now. Thank you so much if you're watching us there at Star Wars Stuff Pod. We're also on Twitter at Stuff Pod. Thread Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Of course, you can support us always on Patreon. TikTok, we are there. Email us at starwarstuffpodcast@gmail.com. We also streamed on Facebook. For some reason, and I had known this before, they don't let us stream to our group anymore. It has to be to our podcast page. So if you're not a member of that, jump to the podcast page on Facebook and just become a member there and you can watch us live. Also, we have a website, starwarstuffpodcast.com, that we've been meaning to add to. And also Apple and Spotify. 5 stars. Give us a great review if you could. That'd be great.
That'd be great. We would appreciate
Spotify especially, because they help us pay bills. So thank you so much for listening, subscribing, supporting us. For James, my name is David, and may the Force be with you.
always. Oh, I didn't do it. All right.
Weird. Okay. Bye, guys.